And so here we go into Wasteland. And one thing has been added to this level. Two things have been added to this level, sorry. First of all, the same emotes. That one of them has changed look a little bit. Maybe both? I don't recall now. First of all, if you look over there, there is now a cannon. And there's a big giant dark plant over on the right too that was added. And those weren't added with this update, although the dark plant might have been. The cannon was added back with Aviary addition in May, I believe. So we're still in September 2018. So it's kind of sad that they took out all the cannons, except now you have it in the office area, nowhere else. I think this guy did change look, maybe. Like I said before, they kept on, yeah, I'm pretty sure he did, kind of changing the way the spirits looked. And I like what they've come up with for the most part, the variations. There's our constellation, which I actually, powder, liked. A lot of this, the constellations and stuff. That was kind of cool. And of course, they've taken our candles out of Wasteland now, which we were all very sad about. I don't remember exactly when that obviously happened over the summer into fall. Taking the candles out and replacing with the dark fungus looking stuff, which obviously makes a little more sense, not to have candles laying about, especially in these murky areas. But of course we miss them. I still like that they have some candles sprinkled about. And here's our bird statue and our map. It will show us what hair we have available. And of course you had to open one of those hairs, that hair, before you'd see what the next thing is. Okay. You had to open the previous node before you'd see the next node. Which actually was a bit confusing, as I recall, to people. To new players too. It made sense to me, but younger people won't necessarily know. They have to go by the lines. You know, this line leads to this one, therefore you have to open this one before you can see that one. You know, it's not necessarily intuitive for some people, and maybe also where they're from, it might not be a normal way of thinking. I don't know, but anyway, people did find it confusing. I didn't particularly like it because I didn't like to have to buy things I didn't want. You know, originally I wasn't after completion. I only started buying everything once I actually had the hearts to buy everything. It wasn't my original goal to buy everything. I just wanted to buy what I wanted. I didn't want to spend my hearts that were so hard to come by, even then, on things I didn't want, in order to get to the thing I did want, because then you're spending 5 hearts on this, and the next thing costs 10 hearts. So really, the thing you wanted cost 15 hearts. I'm not changing my camera direction, but here are still some candles lying about too. So we do still have some candles in here. showing you some of our candle farming back then, because we had these pillars here that we could go up on, and of course there was candles up there. I always loved it when TGC put candles in hard to reach places, because it rewarded your adventurousness. Rewarded your sense of adventure. Because they'd put them up here, you know, even though right now this is not the easiest spot to get to. They also put them up on, there's another, or was, maybe there's not anymore now at this point, another structure there where there was some candles. So there's a dark plant. This is the little middle area that just had some fungus in it. And then over to the left, we're going to go there, is the cannon. There's the cannon. We didn't get the candle lit. There we go. There's the cannon. And you could climb this building too and get to the top of it, and that's how you could reach the clouds. I don't recall that they changed the clouds at this. I don't think they did. Change the clouds at this point so you could no longer reach them. You have a flyover of the area. One of my favorite things to do. There's the cannon. Our broken tower, broken temple, whatever they want to call that. Okay. Now they moved the candles off the walls. Yep, they have taken some candles away. So they're in the process in this of updating to be dark plant instead of candles in here. Oop. There used to be candles on those two walls. This is that zoom out they had. Trouble with, well, because of that zoom out, it was hard to see down that passage. And I believe this is the same as it's been here, anyway. Our poor manta. Mr. Krill. Hello, Mr. Krill. And like I said, as long as you stay up in the air, you're pretty safe from him. Oh, that beacon. I keep meaning to mention that beacon. Oh, that beacon drove us, some of us, crazy. There's the steps to the other area, that room. But that beacon, oh, it was always on the screen. I hated it, but it was guiding you exactly where you should be going, the direction, you know, straight through, towards the exit. And oh, I hate it. You can see the catapult down there on the right. But it was always on the screen, as you can see, and I hated it, and many of us hated it. Some people didn't mind it. I hated it. So they did manage to change that so that it appeared only when you called, chirped, tapped yourself to call. Then it would appear if you needed help. But, you know, guiding you exactly, oh, I hated the thing, because it was always there. It was an eyesore. Now granted, I think my first few times through forest, I definitely had trouble figuring out whether I was going backwards or forwards through it. So I can see what comments might have prompted it. There's another emote or expression. Coming up, we're going to have some interesting new variations on wing buffs, I noticed in some later update, like just a couple months later, I think, with the winter season. Oh, hello, Mr. Krill. See, today that would be deadly. Back then, the krill always dove down to attack. So if you were above him, as long as you didn't then suddenly lose altitude in front of him, you were safe. Because they always dove down to attack. There's the catapult on the right. These bones, I don't think these bones are still here, are they? Maybe they are. Oh, the big dark plant was, so they can see you from above, but they always dive down. Big dark plant added over there. That one sees us too, but always dive down. This is kind of a flyover of the area, which is cool. I'll have to do another flyover of the area like this currently and see if I can notice all the changes. So anyway, we're back down here now. Big dark plant instead of candles now. So yeah, they've changed all the candles to dark plant in here, which was very sad days for us, some of us anyway. We loved the candles. They used to have floating candles, and I still remember Nagati mentioning that she would be so sad when those floating candles left, and then they were suddenly gone, and that was it. I did skip. Oh yeah, that room, because that had the cosmetic kiosk, the hair kiosk in it. It just became kind of an empty room. But then eventually they put that spirit in there for one of the seasons. I don't remember which, but much later, obviously. So just because the kiosk was still kind of there, but empty, blank, because we've changed to the constellations for your cosmetics. Obviously no shipwreck area, so nothing off to the right at this point. And then this area still doesn't have all that extra structure around that building that was added when we ended up with carry quests for the emotes. And so until we had carry quests for the emotes, and we had carry quests for the regular emotes, and that was maybe winter season, with winter season as well. Now, one thing about the flight here is you could glide, I think, and is this it? At one point you could glide, so it made flying a little easier once you got the hang of it. You could glide and you could press up on the screen, and you would actually rise a little bit, and you could use that strategically. I'm not sure it was this update or not. You can see this spirit is fixed now. We can actually see her. Do we still come up under her when we collect? Nope, she's completely fixed. finally. I don't know if I know who this person is. I must. I just answered them. So I always use that as my guide. Right there was the other structure where the emote, the salute emote is. It's very hard to see, especially once you got onto the ground. It was very dark in here. So hard to see where this structure, this specific structure was. I believe he's changed his look. And someone commented that the game seemed so much simpler then, and it did. And I don't know how much that, obviously back at this point, it was hard to know where the game was going, like what their intention was. But it started to become kind of clearer that they intended this to be a long-term world. And I wonder if that was always the intention. The game was very simple back then. Everything was straight through. Eden did eventually give us candles, like regular candles as reward. It didn't always. But there was very much less to it. There's the big dark plant that was also added over here, which of course you all know about. So I don't know what their intention initially was, if it was going to be a living, breathing world, or if it was going to be, here's our next game, there you go, now we're going to go work on the next one. It seems, once they did winter season, once they added winter season, it became kind of clear that they intended this to be a continually updated long-term project rather than just, here, plop down the game, there we go, we move on to the next, like Journey, Flower, and Flower. And so far that seems to be their intention, which means they need to make money. So, of course, they had to expand things and keep adding and adding and adding things to make it interesting so people keep playing it, so they keep making money off of it. If it's going to be a continuing thing rather than, even iOS game creators will make a game and expect to keep making in-app purchases off of it, but not necessarily continually update it, other than to make sure it's compatible. So yes, it changed. It seemed like the whole focus changed to making money, or how we're going to make money off of this, rather than just giving us a game we can play and you make whatever money you make off of candles, you know. So I don't know on their side what their philosophy was, or if it changed, or if it was always intended to be that way, or if they were always trying to figure out how to continually make money and just had to realize they had to change their way of doing it because it wasn't quite going to go where they needed it to go. So, you know, they didn't sit there and give us news conferences, you know, every week saying this is where we're going with the game. We have no clue other than what we saw in the game. You know, some people might have had a clue. I have no idea. I didn't, and most people I know didn't have any clue where that game company was trying to go. I actually lost sound, I think, or maybe, or did I? Yeah, I lost sound. This is another where my sound got screwed up on the recording of the video. So anyway, it definitely grew more complex. I'm so complex that you're like, well, this is a bit too complicated. But at this point right here, this started the complexity with the spirit maps. There's another wing buff for me. The spirit maps got a bit confusing and hard to like explain to others. And you could tell things were they were playing with ideas, obviously, of what was to come. And I expect that at this point they were already thinking of doing seasons and kind of looking into that and how to do the adventure pass, which is like what your battle pass. And he even mentioned that they took the battle pass idea and made it more sky related, which was going to be adventure pass because sky is about adventure. But when they added all the levels and everything else in the winter season update, the game totally changed. The whole focus totally changed, and it did make it more interesting. But that's when you start to get to the game that we now play. So it was interesting. It took them a year in beta to kind of get there to what the game was eventually going to be. But it was a really interesting journey with them to look at and watch. And we have that. Now that I've mentioned that beacon, it is going to be in my face the rest of this. So there's our constellation. This is actually going on to Vault. So this actually belongs to Vault, even though we haven't actually entered Vault yet. But that gives the constellation for Vault. That was a little bit confusing to know whether this belonged to Vault or Wasteland. So this is it for this video. We will then continue on with Vault. Thanks for watching.